This conference will now be recorded.
All right, welcome everyone. I'm Tina Gaines, Chair of the Harwich Cultural Council. I am going to call our meeting to order at 4:02 p.m. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, GLC 30A, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Harwich Cultural Council is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. So welcome everyone to our meeting today. We're going to open with public comments and announcements, but I just wanted to acknowledge Ricky. A lot of us have heard about Ricky, but only a couple of us have actually met Ricky. So Ricky, welcome. We're glad to have you from the Massachusetts Cultural Council. And he's going to present a slideshow a little bit later in our meeting and take our questions and tell us a little bit more about the Mass Cultural Council. So we will look forward to that. So any announcements from Cultural Council members? Chris, did you want to say anything?
Oh, this is it.
Yes.
I did want to acknowledge the passing of Peg Rose, one of our Harwich residents that has been a long time love of my life. She's just and she's just involved in everything you can imagine. And so,
Hold on, Chris, hold on one quick second. Yep. I don't want to lose your words. Hold on 1 second. He's just going to turn his telephone. If you don't mind, Chris, I apologize. I'm going to ask you to say what you said again. Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Peg Rose is a longtime resident of Harwich, and she's just passed. And she's been a member of so many cultural things, all whether she's well, the Guild of Harwich Artists had her on our board, and she's not a painter. She's been in the Cape Cod Baseball League. She's been in the orchestra. I mean, as a fundraiser and just a supporter of so many things. And I did want to acknowledge that today.
Thank you, Chris. And I'll just add, and we're going to take roll call here in a minute now that Bernadette is with us, but I also wanted to share Peg Rose. Bernadette is what we're acknowledging. Peg has been just a good friend to the Cultural Council and just so many cultural and arts organizations in our town. And she was the president of the Harwich Historical Society, which is one of our grant recipients for 2021. So, you know, just want to take a moment to really recognize everything that Peg brought to our town and just being a good friend to the Cultural Council and so many of our organizations. And Bernadette, I know you knew her well too. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything. Oh, and you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I just, you know, I don't know what to say at this point. I learned on Saturday, and it was very sudden. And as I said, I ended up looking at what the library had written and just ending up copying and pasting and sharing that. That, you know, she was everywhere. She was everywhere with everyone. Her enthusiasm. She was great. Wonderful member of Friends of the Arts with the high school, going back to when it was still Harwich High School and right up through Monomoy. It was like, where's Waldo around town? Wherever you went, whatever was going on, Peg was there. She was just a treasure.
Yeah, she really was. And she has, as long as I've been on the council, I'm pretty certain she's been to every one of our grant receptions. So she just a really good person, really good supporter of arts and culture. So she'll be missed.
Oh yeah, it's a big hole in the town.
Yeah, she really does, really does. So we're going to take an official roll call here. And Bernadette, now that you're here, when I say your name, just say present, and we're going to record it for the minutes. So we'll start with Dinah.
Present.
Thank you. Sharon.
Present.
Thank you. Peter.
Present.
Thank you. Bernadette.
Present.
Thank you, Chris.
Present.
And Tina Games present. So we have everybody here but Charlie, and Charlie had a family commitment this afternoon and was not able to make our meeting, so he will be absent today. Moving on to the first item of business is the approval of the March 11th, 2021 meeting minutes. If I could have a motion to approve, please.
Motion.
Okay, Chris has made the motion. Could I have a second? It looks like Peter is going to second. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll do a roll call approval of the March 11th minutes, starting with Dinah.
Aye.
Thank you. Sharon? Oh, and you're on mute.
Aye.
Thank you. Peter?
Aye.
Thank you. Bernadette?
Aye.
Thank you. Chris?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So those are approved unanimously. Now we're going to move into old business. The first item is the status of 2020 grant recipients. And I'll just share at this point, we have officially passed the treasurer job over to Chris. Chris and I had a wonderful meeting, and I have passed over officially the blue binder, yay, and the accordion. So Chris has all of the treasurer items, the binder, the accordion, and Chris, so I think going forward, I'm just going to be throwing these items in your area. I know, based on my knowledge, I don't think we've had any new news with the 2020 grant recipients. I still think we have the same group outstanding that we had last month. Do you have any news?
I don't have any activity since I've taken it over for the 2020.
Okay, so there's nothing, nothing new to report. So we're still waiting for the outstanding grants. And I believe, and I don't have the number because now that you've got everything, I think it's five. You have the spreadsheet from 2020. I think we're still waiting on 5, I think.
Oh.
I thought it was 2. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's 5. I think two of the 5 maybe that you're counting are ones that had withdrawn.
Yep, that's right. Thank you for that reminder, Dinah.
I think
you are correct.
Davis Bates, Daniel Levine, and Movimento. Is that right? Those are the ones that I have.
Okay.
Right.
And so that's 2 or 3. Is that 3?
Then there's a soul collage group actually, and the puppet project.
Yeah, that's true. So that brings us up to 4 then. Is that right?
No,
Okay.
It is 5. It is 5. If it's counting soul collage, you haven't heard anything further.
Not yet. Nope.
And the puppet project, and then the 3 that I just mentioned, but there were 2 that withdrew. So yes.
Okay.
You're right. Yep.
Okay. So nothing new to report. Everybody does have the date. They do need to get their 2020 programs and events done and filed by early June so that we can get it filed on our end by the end of June. So that's kind of the news on the 2020 grant recipients. Now we'll move into the 2021 recipients, which, Chris, I know we do have something to report there.
Well, last meeting, I think you reported on let's see, that you processed, your initials are on this one, the Eventide and the orchestra, the mats. So those 2 were in March 17th. We processed them. Now it goes over to the town to pay that. And then I've recently gotten beyond the bounds and processed the 6th, April 6th. So I just brought that the other day. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have 3, so we have 16 grant recipients in 2021. So 3 of them have already completed their programs and have submitted for reimbursement.
Have they received reimbursement or just submitted?
They've just submitted.
I just submitted, yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and now it's over in the town's hands, so they're just processing those and then the checks will go out.
Well, I did get the 2 accounts for the council and the gift account. And as of April 6th, the total, but again, it's difficult to, the funny part about their statement is when you get a debit, they put a minus. So it's a little confusing, and I have to call her and find out how that really works. But she states that the minus is because that means they've processed it. Well, that still doesn't make sense to me, but so anyway, I do have the totals on that if you're interested, Dinah, for the record.
Yes.
So the account 1501, the cultural account, is 2,720. The gift account of 1730 is 3,873.74.
And if I could just pipe in here, because I just want to, and we've talked about this a few meetings, that Chris and I, or the town has a certain way of accounting, which we are trying to wrap our heads around. And it sounds to me like they haven't gotten the state money in there yet, because $2,000 doesn't sound correct. So, so I think for accuracy, Dinah, just for the minutes, I mean, you can certainly report the numbers, you can put them in there, but because it is what we have been given, but I know that from hearing those numbers there, yeah.
But it has a minus $3,900 in here, so it looks like it, but again.
Well, 39 is the town money, because the town of Harwich gave us 3,900, but the state has given us 5,000. Yeah.
Oh, that's the one you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how long that takes to process when, you know, the state money. And again, and Ricky probably can speak to this more than I can, but I don't know if you want to say anything, Ricky, about how long that money takes to get out.
Yeah, so because of COVID, the whole program took a while to get running with the state budget and our funds coming to us so we could send it to LCCs. I think every year the fiscal budget should be here on July 1st, but because of COVID, it didn't happen until around November or December. So what happens usually is that once you all complete your annual report and submit it to our agency, it triggers a process where our fiscal department formulates a contract and a letter, and it goes out to the town contact, and I can find that in a second. And then that town fiscal contact is supposed to physically print it out, sign it, and mail it back to our office. And that once it gets back to our office, that's when the funds can actually be released. So I can look for a second to see who that contract went to, and maybe ask you guys if you know if they received it yet.
Yeah. And while you're looking for that, Ricky, I would assume it might have gone to Carol Coppola, who is our finance director. I'm pretty certain that's where it goes. So okay. Chris, actually, and this is probably good that this is happening. So Chris, what I would ask you as treasurer is to be mindful that as we're processing the new grants, the the grants coming in, to really just be mindful. And we probably do need to talk to Carol to better understand those numbers, because they still sound a little off to me. And I think we might, maybe you and I, once things settle down, can kind of sit down, because I know that there are a couple of categories on those sheets that we got, and one has one number, one has another number, and I'm always confused which is the real number.
So I found it. The letter and the contract were actually addressed to Christopher Clark, town administrator.
Oh, okay. All right. So we need to update that. How do we update that, Ricky? Because we've got a new town administrator.
Yeah, please email me the person's name and contact, and I'll send it to our fiscal, because that's happened a lot where a lot of town clerics administrators have retired or new people have been appointed, and we have the old contact on file, so that contract and letter just goes nowhere.
Okay. Thank you for that. I would assume it would get passed on, but don't want to assume anything right now. So we'll follow up on that.
Good. That sounds good.
We would, because it might just be sitting somewhere. So, all right, we'll follow up on that. Thank you. I'm glad this happened. I'm glad you're here, Ricky.
Yes, so that would be the letter that confirms that someone has to sign on our end and send back before the money gets released. Is that correct?
Yes, okay. I'll email it to you all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thank you, Ricky. That would be terrific. So we'll make sure that that's getting done.
Okay.
I'm glad this came up. This is good. And Ricky was here, so this is wonderful. Great. We'll get that sorted out. I would have hoped that that would have just gotten passed along to the right person, but you never know. Yeah,
And then it has to be returned, of course, so we would have to check on that as well.
yeah, that's true.
Returned, even if it has been received, just to be sure that it's not lost in the pipeline somewhere.
Exactly. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
also, I would just say, maybe even for the minutes, that Chris and I are going to work together to make sure Chris has a good understanding of those, because every month, Chris, you know, as you know, we get a report from the finance director, and it has a bunch of numbers that Chris and I haven't been able to really understand. So we're going to meet with Carol. Yeah, we're going to meet with Carol to just so Chris understands how those numbers are posted, so that going forward, we won't have as many questions.
Yep.
Carol wants to wait until she gets her shot, so to a face-to-face. She said she'd be open to telephone, so.
Yeah. And I
So
will
it may
say,
be-
just
it may
from
be a bit
my,
yet.
yeah, I'll say from my couple of years of doing the Treasury job, that the numbers at the year end have always matched up. So I don't know with their process how quickly things get added, and you know, I don't know. All I can say is at the end of the fiscal year, they've always matched.
Okay, so you'll be trying to rectify that when you can.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions about that? All right. So moving on to the grant evaluation form. Everybody, I believe, got the links that Sharon created. Sharon, I thought those looked terrific. And I don't know if we can do this, but we're going to experiment today, Sharon. If you can, I don't know if you want to hit one of those links, and let's maybe try to do a screen share. And if you get knocked off in the process, just come right back.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. So I have, let's see, it works so much easier in Google Meet, but let me see.
Yeah, really, Google Meet and Zoom, but this is a tricky one for all of us. But right down at the bottom, there's a screen icon, and I'm hoping that's because Ricky's going to try to do it a little bit later in the agenda.
All right, so I'm going to screen share.
And if you get knocked off, you can just log back in.
Yeah, let's see what it's going to let me do.
And while you're doing that, did you get the links, and did you have a chance to look at them?
I do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions? And Ricky, I didn't even think to copy you on any of this. So this
thought
is
they
just
looked- I thought they looked-
evaluations.
I thought they looked.
Okay,
Go ahead,
Um,
Dinah.
Yeah, I thought they looked great and very succinct, and I just had 2 suggestions. But if she can get it up, then we can talk about that.
This is interesting.
Yeah. Hopefully Ricky will have more luck with this. Well, while you're working on it, rather than hold this up, if you wanted to go ahead, Dinah, and offer, and because we can pull it up. I don't know if everybody is at their phones, or even if you can look at it. I'm actually going to pull it up on my phone in front of me. But if we look at the first one, which is not the performer, so this is the other one, not the performer one. So I've got it in front of me. So Dinah, what were your suggestions?
I had mine up, but it's also on Google. Wait a minute. Is this a Google thing? This GoToMeeting? No.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I can find them. Oh, there they are. Yes. Okay. Yep.
But what Sharon created was 2 Google, I guess, surveys, or however you set them up. And
Yep,
one
they're
of them,
surveys.
Evaluation forms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the one that is for the wait a minute. For the one that says performer reflection, I thought all the questions seemed appropriate. I would only suggest changing the word to presenter rather than performer,
Okay.
because it isn't necessarily performers, and I think presenter covers it more broadly. So that was my suggestion on that one. And for the one that is for the venue form, the people who hosted, I guess, I would say we want to have the venue name if possible as well as the person's name. So those were my 2 suggestions.
Okay, thank you for that. And Sharon, did you get those 2 suggestions?
No.
So one of them was the presenter on the performer evaluation, to change the word performer to presenter.
Okay.
And Dinah, if you could repeat your second one, because I was trying to.
Yeah, to put the venue name as well as the name of the person who is filling out the form. It says name, and I would just suggest adding venue to that.
And Sharon, did you get that one?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's so weird. Like I went out of the meeting and then it said I could come back in and do it. And now it's asking me weird stuff.
Ricky,
It's got a big like.
with this.
Oh my gosh.
Ricky,
I'm not this
lots of
computer literate.
Yeah, we've had lots of problems with this one. I don't know why. We can do it on Zoom and GoToMeeting, but the town prefers, or the town prefers this platform, and we've had to use this one, but we really have struggled with the screen share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's go to meeting.
Oof, I give up. All right, I will just go in and make those changes and you guys can see that.
Yeah, thank you, Sharon.
So date of performance, location of performance, do you want that to change to venue name?
Dinah, did you hear that question?
I have to go back and look at it again to see.
Because it says name, then it says date of performance, location of performance. Do you want me to change that to venue?
Yeah, the location
Location
might
of venue?
be the one that's hosting. I don't know, or host. I don't know, something. I'm not really sure. What do you think? It was just.
Okay. Yep.
How about putting an or in there?
Okay.
Location of performance or venue name.
Okay.
That's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
Performance or
sounds good.
venue name. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion, because location could be virtual. Yeah,
Yeah.
or Facebook or whatever. Yep.
That's true, right? Mhm.
All right.
The other suggestion I have, I always like to see things in a numerical order and possibly number each one, name 1, date of performance 2, so forth like that. Just gets a little more order. Same with the presenter one, even though there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, thank you. Sharon, and I guess you're getting all this, Sharon?
Yeah, so I'm just numbering them. Is that what you'd like me to do?
Yeah, I think it helps with things.
Yeah.
And just the questions, maybe, question 1, 2, 3, 4 is what he's asking.
Yeah. I'll do that. And when you get the responses, you click on the, you only saw my view form, but I will make everyone a collaborator, and you click on it'll pop up to the questions. You click on responses and it will aggregate all the information.
Okay, thank you.
If I said that word correctly. It'll put all the information together.
Anybody else with feedback? Comments? And Ricky, we're just talking about our evaluation form. One of the, Charlie, he's not here. Charlie had suggested going forward, because at one point the Harwich Cultural Council was doing evaluations, grant. And then there was a decision, gosh, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, right when I first came onto the council, that we moved from the evaluation and decided that we would personally, one of us or more of us on the council would actually attend or participate. That way we could visually or experience it. So that change was made. But one of the things we noticed this past year, because so much was virtual, that we weren't always able to participate or whatever. So we were now going back to the evaluation.
No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, we always want our LCCs to try to attend grantee events, if not have a grant reception. So, Eric.
Yeah, and then it helps kind of for the next year. How did that go? You know, if somebody applies again and maybe it didn't go so well or it went so well, yeah, it kind of gives us some feedback on where we want to put our funding. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Any questions or comments about the evaluation form? Anything you want to ask Ricky on this topic? Because Ricky, you know, you've got a pretty big district, so I don't know if anybody has a question for Ricky as it relates to evaluations. Chris?
I don't have a question for this, but your voice has changed and it's far away and raspy. I wonder if you should mute yourself and come back on, see if it changed it since this thing with Sharon.
Oh,
Yeah,
with me
I
or with
probably
Ricky?
messed it up.
90% blame you.
Wait, hey, Chris, with me or with the Ricky?
Your voice.
Oh, it might be. Can you, if I get closer, can you hear me?
No, it's not the same anymore. I mean,
Yeah,
did you
I'm having
Well,
I'm
come
having the
back?
same.
my only concern with me going out and coming back in is losing everybody because I'm the host of this meeting.
Oh,
It
That
might
was
be
weird.
difficult to hear.
okay. It's just weird. Hello.
All right, let me see if it does it help if I get closer. Let me try to mute and unmute. I just don't want to
You're gone.
Oh, she muted herself.
She muted, okay.
I'm muting to see if it changes anything.
It didn't come back as well.
Can
I don't know.
everybody hear me? So can you hear me or you can't hear me?
We can hear you. It's just kind of tinny.
Huh, okay, that's bizarre.
I probably did that.
I do not want to lose us all because I'm afraid if I leave, everybody's gone because I'm the host of this meeting.
Yeah, it would get rid of us.
It sounds like you're underwater.
Right. All right. All right. Well, we'll keep going. Hopefully, everybody can hear me.
And I just made everybody collaborators too.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. So moving along to new business. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. For recruitment for the council. Everyone knows that I am at the end of my term, at the end of June. I will be leaving. So we will have that vacancy. And we also, in addition to that, have already 2 vacancies. So that's going to be 3. And I guess I'm going to make this announcement. I wanted really Charlie to make it himself, but he did give me permission to share. Charlie is not, his term is up at the end of June, and he has other things that he would really like to get involved in, so he has chosen not to renew. He will be with us through the end of June, but will not be with us past June. So that's going to give us 4 vacancies. And we have a maximum of 9, which means that we have to have a minimum of 5. So we have to have 5, which we'll have. I mean, there'll be 5 people here. But just going forward, as we think about recruitment, just know that we've got 4 spots. We will have 4 spots. Dinah.
Yes, I have a question. I know that we have one person who is very anxious to join, who has been solicited, and for some reason there's some bureaucratic difficulty regarding her candidacy, and I'm wondering if we can clarify that. It seems like if we have someone who is eager and appropriate, that it makes sense to try to work through that problem, and I don't know if we can do that. And I think Ricky, you're aware of that. I think Tina has spoken with you about it. I don't know if you know what it is I'm referring to, but it's one candidate whom I had solicited, who is really an excellent candidate and was very enthusiastic, but there was a concern on the I don't know, some technical issue that is not clear to me as to what the objection would be about her serving. So
Yeah, and I'll fill this in, and then Ricky, if you feel free to pipe in.
Oh, you're back.
Oh, good, yay. All right, good. Maybe it just took Dinah to talk a little bit. My mic was working. Okay, so everybody I think knows the person we're talking about, and I'm it's somebody that's very prominent in the arts and culture community, and an executive director of a local theater company. Excellent candidate, but the concern, as I understand it, from the town, the appointees, the selectmen, is that there's a conflict of interest. So I did reach out, and Ricky and I had a dialogue about this. And based on Ricky's guidance and our understanding, there shouldn't be a conflict of interest. The theater does come in front of us almost every year, not every year, asking, for a grant. And in that case, should this person be appointed, the process is that she would recuse herself, which seems to be the process across the Commonwealth. But for some reason, that explanation isn't being received, and there is still a response that they think it's a conflict of interest, and I am just not seeing it. So Ricky, I think we're kind of not sure what to do with this, because this person is an excellent candidate to be on the Cultural Council, and so I think we're kind of not sure what to do with this.
Yeah, the only prohibition we have is for people who are elected to positions on other boards. So that's the only real thing we don't allow, is if someone has been elected to like a board and they want to join the LCC, we don't allow that. But people who serve on nonprofits or organizations who are applying to the LCC are definitely members of that same LCC as well in other areas of the state. And yeah, we just asked them to submit forms that say, this is how I'm connected to this organization. This is what a potential conflict could be. And we do ask that that person recuse themselves, or, physical space, if they leave the room, or on Zoom, they leave the Zoom call or the GoToMeeting call as you deliberate over the project, maybe for like 20 minutes or so, then come back. And that would be that. So personally, I don't see why they wouldn't allow this person to join. If I could always try to reach out to my deputy director, David. He's our legal counsel. Kind of helps us with legalities and conflicts of interest, things like that. And potentially, I could just have a conversation with your appointing authority and see if we can kind of figure something out. Because the way we see it, as long as they submit those disclosure forms that say, this is my relationship to this place, and it's all transparent, then it should be okay.
Okay, thank you. Dinah?
Yes, that all sounds exactly as I have understood it in previous councils that I've worked on. And I'm wondering, the way you described it was so succinct just now, that I'm wondering if it would be possible for you to simply put that in one paragraph of a letter that we could pass along.
I'd have. Yeah,
exactly as you said it, that the only prohibition that the MCC has is for elected officials of other boards, and that across the Commonwealth, this is common practice for people of artistic organizations to be able to participate, because you have a conflict of interest rule, which requires them to recuse themselves. As simple as possible, just really clear and simple. And I'm wondering if you put that in writing, and we would be able to then furnish that to the authority in town, whether that might resolve the issue.
Yeah, I can certainly loop in my executive deputy director, David, and work with him to see what we can do, because he's usually the one who helps us out. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be very helpful. But I think having something in writing would be the answer, rather than relying on a conversation. I think if we have something in writing, then it's very clear what we're standing on.
Right. Yeah, and Dinah, thank you for that suggestion. Ricky did put that in an email dialogue, which I did share, but I think what Dinah's asking is something maybe a little more official than something in an email. So I think that's a good suggestion. Bernadette, go ahead.
And I'm racking my brains for why they would, in this one case, be saying this, because I'm sure they've had this come up for years. Some of the same people have been on the Board of Selectmen. The only other thing I could think of that's different now is that the theater does lease property from the town, I believe, don't they? The old, what we used to refer to as the old rec building. It's one extra thing, but again, it still goes back to the process would be recuse yourself whenever having to. So I don't, it's very very concerning why this is even coming up. But there's a town election coming up in May too, so.
That's true. Yeah. Chris, go ahead.
I don't understand this because when I was coming on the board, I was president of the Guild of Harwich Artists, and we had applied for a grant, and it came up, and I stepped out of the room and did all that I was supposed to do. And when I was interviewed, they knew full well that I was with this art group and as a board member, and that didn't seem to faze them. And these are the same, well, one of the same persons that interviewed me that's interviewing this gal too. So it's just a little bit more than what this conversation is about.
Yeah.
It's inconsistent at the least, so.
Yeah. So Ricky, let me ask a question with something that you said. You were talking about elected officials. Is that, because we actually have 2 elected officials right now in this group, myself and Bernadette. So, but we got elected after, or at least I did, after we were on the council. So what is the rule about that?
You're muted, Ricky.
Sorry. I'm looking for the statute. I believe the statute doesn't allow like newly appointed elected officials to also seek appointment on the councils. So you guys were elected after you served on the council, right?
Actually, and I think you're clarifying it for me right now. So is it a board that's the appointing authority? So in this case, is it like whoever appoints us, which would be the Board of Selectmen, we can't be on that board? Or is it any elected official? I'm a school committee official.
I'm elected Board of Trustees of the library, and I was elected to the library board before coming on the council.
Yeah.
All right. So I have the language here. So it says, let's see, state law, Mass General Law, Chapter 10, Section 58 prohibits elected public officials from serving on their LCC. The agency knows this is appropriate for mayors, city councilors, and select board members, but this law prevents those who are elected to serve in other local and regional capacities, like town meeting members, school committee members, local assessors, and library trustees from serving on their LCC. So we've introduced an act to expand membership opportunities for LCCs to allow for better LCC member recruitment and retention. So
Okay.
I'm not sure. That's the state statute. I put the link in the chat as well.
Okay, thank you. So I guess because Bernadette and myself are already kind of wrapped up. I mean, so I don't know if this is something that, I mean, because nobody's ever said anything and it was never really passed along. I mean, it made sense to me that you couldn't be on the Board of Selectmen because that's the appointing authority, but I didn't know anything about the others. So that's interesting.
Yeah, honestly, not sure how strongly it's been enforced with all 352 cities and towns in the Commonwealth, but I think our public affairs director, Beth Ann, found this new act that she wanted to push to just have a blank slate where it would be allowed throughout the Commonwealth. Yeah, so I'm putting the bill in the chat. So this is the House version.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Ricky. So I think this might be something. If I would just ask you, did I just not? No, I still got you. I thought I knocked everybody out. I was just trying to pull up that link, but I think I would ask, just as the chair for the Cultural Council, is this something that we need to pay attention to? I mean, you just read it to us, but it sounds like it's not really enforced. But going forward, I don't know if this is something that and this may be a state thing. I don't know if it's us deciding, but it might just be a state thing. Do they want to
Yeah,
enforce this?
I think it's a state legislature thing, to be honest. Yeah, I think there is an email I sent out where we had a blog post where we were asking LCCs and their stakeholders to kind of advocate to their legislative leaders to get this through so that kind of prohibition wouldn't be there anymore.
Okay.
So I could put that in the chat as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's enlightening. Thank you, Ricky. That's very enlightening.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So that might apply to Bernadette and me, but it certainly doesn't apply to the person that we have been speaking about. So, yeah, I think. And Ricky, I would also just ask, I don't know, has this ever come up anywhere, at least in your district? I mean, I know the preference would be to let the local town do their own appointing, but in a case like this, where we as a cultural council, all of us feel so strongly that this candidate is a good qualified candidate, I feel like I want to take a position as a council. And is that appropriate for us to put something in writing? I can write it on behalf of the council that we really would like them to strongly consider this person. Is that appropriate?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I'd have to ask Dave and also Jen Lawless, who's our operations director. She also used to run the LCC program and wrote many of the program guidelines. So I'd say this, if you don't mind kind of sending me an email that kind of details everything with who this person is, where they work, and the issues surrounding having them appointed, I could take that to Dave and Jen and say, this person sounds like she'd be great for the LCC. And the only thing she'd really have to do is submit those forms, disclosure forms that say, a relationship to the organization if and when they would apply for something. Because, that happens all the time at LCCs. People just, walk out of the room. And it's okay. So
It does.
Okay.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And I mean, just for the record, I have, as one person, made my thought known to the two people that are appointing. So it's not like I haven't put it out there. So I just didn't know what would be appropriate as a council if the council took a position. So I guess we can look into that.
It sounds, yeah, just.
Yep. Yep.
It sounds to me as if what it is that Ricky stated was the law about it is what needs to be conveyed. And how the council feels about it is actually secondary. That's what I would say. And if we're not sure, if he in particular is not sure that it's appropriate, I would let that alone personally and just go with a letter from the lawyer or Ricky or whatever it is that you think would be appropriate, Ricky, in terms of a statement, a clear statement about what the rules are from the state.
Yeah.
And also what the expectations and recommendations are for finding people. And the fact that we are way down on our numbers at this point, and we really need good people. And this is a live one. So anyway, those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that, Don. And Ricky, I know you and I've spoken, just the two of us, about me leaving and the plan that we had as a council to make sure we had a succession plan. And we've been working on that all year, just to make sure we have people in appropriate spots. And I just feel like we've done our due diligence. And we care. I mean, we really care about who's serving on the council. And yeah, I think we all feel the same way. So I guess we'll let it end there, I suppose.
Yeah, honestly, it's what we want. We want you all to, work hard to recruit the right people who are passionate about arts and culture. And it sounds like this person is. I will say that usually more often than not, our senior staff has preferred us to kind of let municipalities be independent in their procedures. But, I can certainly definitely make the case to them that this sounds like a great person and we need, great members, we need retention, and, this will kind of hinder that. So we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you, Ricky. We appreciate that. Okay, so moving on to the next item. Oh, yay, Ricky, you are up. So I'm hoping you can share your screen. And of course, everybody knows I invited Ricky because I know that so many of you are new in your roles. And I thought it would be good for, of course, to meet Ricky because he is our liaison to the Mass Cultural Council, and to talk a little bit about the Mass Cultural Council and the local Cultural Council and how our roles work together. So Ricky, let's see what we can do about that screen share.
All right, give it a shot.
All right, everybody keep your fingers crossed.
Mine actually could work now. It released the controls. A little late, but.
Yeah, it looks like Ricky, he says the presenter, so it looks like it's going to work, Ricky.
Oh, good.
All right,
Let's
now,
see.
do you guys see anything?
Not right this minute. It
No?
does show you as a presenter, though, so we got that far.
Okay.
I don't know if you have to move your whatever is on your screen, if you need to move it to that.
Yeah, it says my screen sharing is paused. Oh.
And I don't know if there's anything I have to do. I'm looking, because it did say that you were a presenter. So I'm not seeing where I have to give anybody permission, because usually it's something will pop up, or at least it does on Zoom, if I have to give somebody permission, and I'm not seeing anything.
Nothing yet?
Nope. Yeah, this is the frustrating thing. I know we tried this once before, and the whole screen got wacky, if everybody remembers that. And I had difficulty getting it back.
Mm-hmm. So
I know, with exception of Dinah, I think everybody got Ricky's presentation or was able to at least take a look at it. And I'm going to pull it up on the phone. I know you added some other slides, though, Ricky, I think.
Yeah, I could email it to everyone right now.
And then I might be able to pull it up on my end. Who knows?
Oh, yes, because you've now got approval. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. So yeah, if you want to just email it, let's see if Sharon can pull it up. That would be terrific.
All right, I'll try.
Wait, it's the PowerPoint you made, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the PowerPoint.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, and I know when I've attended Board of Selectmen meetings that it does take a little bit of time for a guest to pull their screen up, unless the host or whoever does it. I don't know. Okay, now Sharon is the new presenter.
I just shared it.
Oh, there you go.
Oh!
Yay! Yay!
So you can just tell me when to turn the slide.
Did it come through on email by any chance? Did you see the one I just sent?
Is it this one that we're looking at?
No, it hasn't come through, Ricky.
Hold on, let me see if I could. Sharon, right? You're the one with the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll send to you in a sec.
But it does look like she got your original presentation up. So worst case scenario, we could go with that one.
Okay.
I can go get the other one though too. Hold on. No, I don't want to leave the meeting. I almost left the meeting.
And see, that's the thing. That little leave meeting thing pops up.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. That is so weird. People, this, that. Okay. All right. If you sent it to our email, I'll look for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just taking a while because it's so big.
Yeah, it is a big file. I don't know if it helps though. I mean, Ricky, we can just talk in a general sense, unless you wanted Sharon to pull up the one that you sent. We can at least.
Yeah, I mean, I could go through it and just talk it out. If that's
right.
okay.
Right.
Yeah, it'll take a while, Sharon. But yeah, to start off, thank you for inviting me, Tina. Sorry, sad to see you go. I know you've been great on the council. I remember you were one of the first LCCs I got to meet in person when I first got hired. I did like a Cape overnight meeting, and I was just visiting. I think I got to visit the Cultural Council and also go to a legislative meeting with the Arts Foundation at Cape Cod. So after that, COVID kind of, changed the world forever. It was a goal of ours to meet every LCC in person. Hopefully we can do it again in the future. But yeah, so our agency mission as Mass Cultural Council is a state agency that promotes excellence, inclusion, education, diversity in the arts, humanities, and sciences, and to foster a rich cultural life for all Massachusetts residents and contributes to the vitality of our communities and economy. So we have a 19-member governing board, which is appointed by Governor Baker, who acts as our governing council. There are about 31 staff members, and between us as a staff, we have 23 programs, 7 services, and 7 departments. We are under a joint committee of tourism, arts, and cultural development. The Senate members includes Chairman Edward J. Kennedy, Vice Chair John Cronin, and the House members include Chair Carol A. Fiola and Vice Chair Dylan A. Fernandez, among others. So just give a brief overview of the agency. Before I get into communities, of course, we have the Administration and Finance Department, which handles all the contracts for various granting. We have an Artist Department, which is really cool. They work with individual artists to fund fellowships, as well as all types of mediums in choreography, crafts, drawing, printmaking, photography, writing, film and video, music, and there's even a special folk arts and heritage division by our colleague Maggie for folklore and oral traditions, which is pretty cool. We have the executive office with our executive leadership and our new director, Michael J. Bobbitt, who just started in February. And we also have a bunch of other organizations like our Cultural Facilities Fund. So this fund works in partnership with Mass Development, and they work in twofolds. One half is working with coalitions who want to create cultural spaces, who want to create museums or monuments for arts and culture. And it also works with organizations who are already established who just need upkeep for things like new theater seats or new HVAC, new electrical. So they help fund facilities that way. We have an investment portfolio team, and they work primarily with 501(c) nonprofits. And what happens is these nonprofits apply to be in our gateway portfolio, and then our team helps them kind of build their logic model, build their capacity to be sustainable long term, and kind of figure out what their mission is to help their community. And then once they get through the gateway, they become a portfolio organization where they receive funding every single year from the agency for operating support and building initiatives. So not only do they help that way, there's also a bunch of cool programs that they do, like Card to Culture, where people who are receiving EBT cards or WIC can receive free or reduced admission to museums and cultural offerings. And before the pandemic hit, we were also working on a Culture RX program where studies have shown that people can really benefit from art therapy. People who have mental health issues or struggle with different types of health issues, they can, benefit from, being prescribed a trip to a museum or prescribed piano lessons. So we are working with organizations in the Berkshires for a pilot program to kind of work with doctors to actually prescribe those arts and culture offerings. And it's kind of tragically ironic that, we're trying to really get people out into arts and culture, benefits, and then the pandemic kind of puts that to a halt. So we're still working on ways to get that moving. We also have programs that really focus on the youth. Our creative youth development program that kind of tries to empower young people in both music, education, and teaching arts fellowships. And we also had an educations division that focused on STAR residencies for teachers, creative minds out loud, poetry out loud, and also the Yellow School Bus program to help schools and organizations send kids on field trips. Other than that, we have our public affairs team, which works really amazingly well with our legislative leaders to get our story out there, to advocate on our behalf. And then we come to the community initiative, which I'm a part of and you all are a part of by extension of the local cultural council program. I was wondering, Sharon, any chance?
I can share it.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you though. Okay.
Yeah.
And while she's pulling that up, Ricky, do you want to pause and see if there are any questions before we go into the local conversation? Does anybody have any questions about what Ricky shared as far as the state agency as a whole and all the many things they offer? Any questions?
Yeah,
Chris?
fire away.
Yeah, Chris?
I just caught a snippet of what you said about art therapy. I have a friend that does art therapy with seniors and Alzheimer's and all that kind of thing. So are you saying that the Mass Cultural Council would be open to helping her?
Yeah, so I'm not sure where the program stands as of now. I think,
Right.
I believe when it was in its pilot run, it was in cooperation with people who had the Health Connector or Mass Health. And then they would be able to register for the program and see if they could be prescribed, a trip to museum or piano lessons or painting lessons. So I could definitely look into it if you want to send me an email.
Right.
Since
So if
contact.
you were to be working with a nursing home or that kind of thing, would it be through the nursing home that would contact Mass Cultural Council?
Yes, it would be through the nursing home because I believe when it first started, there were a couple of pilot organizations in the Berkshires that were partnering with us as an agency first, and then places like Mass MoCA out there.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions about the state agency, just on the bigness of what Mass Cultural Council does? All right, well, we'll move into the local bit, the community initiative. So go ahead, Ricky.
Okay. Sharon, did you know
Yeah.
if you could pull up slide 6? By chance?
Do you see it there?
Please and thank you.
Yep, I see it.
Yeah, I'm
I
on
see it.
6.
I see the old one. I don't see the new one.
This isn't the new one?
Yeah, I think, Ricky, I think this one that Sharon might be pulling up, is this, I don't know if this was the original one I sent out, or is this the one he just sent you?
Yeah, I just emailed a new one.
I think this was it. Hold on. Let
Okay.
me, how many slides are in the new one?
There are 22.
And was that the same as the last one? Because this one has 22.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I think
I
I
can
may
go
see.
back and look.
Yeah, if you don't mind, please. I think I'd see like my name as a new email. Top.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see it now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Oh, there we go, yay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, the communities initiative. So it comes in 3 parts. First, we have the local cultural council program, which is the nation's largest arts and culture funding network, where every single city and town, there are many instances where towns merge and combine together, but every single city and town is represented through a cultural council, and they all receive funding from the agency's allocation. And we just think it's a great program because everyone is really passionate about arts and culture and wants to see great events in their communities. So it's all volunteer based, and they come together to really evaluate what project would serve their communities the best. And the way it stands, every LCC needs a minimum of 5, and I believe the way the statute is written, there could be a maximum of 22. I haven't seen any councils with 22 members yet. The most I've seen is about 12 or so. But usually the sweet spot is 8 or 9. So there can be a quorum if one person misses a meeting. And then we have the Cultural Districts Initiative, which is run by Program Manager Luis Coto. And it's a 5-year designation where the agency really tries to help communities identify the cool and unique nooks and crannies and cultural offerings in their specific towns, and uplift them and help fund them so they can support these blocks and spaces in the neighborhood where you can go into a local coffee shop or support a local artist at an art gallery and know that the work is created by an artist who lives in the community, and you're supporting that person instead of going to a big brand name from outside the community. It's all about supporting the local shops and artisans in your spaces. And right now, I think there's about 49 or 50 cultural districts, and it takes kind of a coalition of local stakeholders as well as legislative leaders who come together and tell us, this area in our neighborhood is amazing and it should get a designation. And then from there, we start the process to kind of get that rolling. And then we also have a festivals program, which is run by my program manager, Lisa Simmons, where right now it's pretty equitable across the board. Every festival who applies kind of goes through a review process, and everyone who's accepted receives the same amount of $500, and it can go for operating support or helping put a festival on. As you can imagine, post-pandemic, with social distancing and moving to virtual spaces, not too many people are walking around cultural districts in large groups or clusters these days, and a lot of people have pivoted to the virtual festivals. So it's something that we need to evaluate and look on how we can, adapt to the times when it comes to these types of offerings, like we have with the local cultural council program and a lot of grantees doing things in virtual spaces. So I'll move on to core principles. So yeah, we believe that culture elevates the quality of life everywhere. There's local impact. We want to celebrate the unique artists and spots in each community, and also empower communities. And we believe the LCC program is a big part in that, with the volunteers that comprise the LCC and their relationships with their stakeholders. I know, Tina, you're involved with Eventide, Eventide and things like that. So we definitely want to empower LCC members to build relationships with their reps, their senators, to advocate for arts and culture, both through the agency and individually. I think the next slide shows a breakdown of our team. So you can see our program manager, Lisa Simmons. She's my boss, who I report to directly. And then under her is Luis Edward Coto. He runs the Cultural Districts program as well as LCCs. And then my colleagues, my fellow officers, Mina Kim, Timothy Afam, and Veronica Ramirez Martel. And I'll move to the next slide, where you can see the map of how we each divide the Commonwealth. So I serve as program officer for the Cape, South Central Massachusetts, which is pretty much all of the Second Worcester District, and also all of Franklin County. So my towns are in yellow in the map. I'll move on to the next slide for our cultural compact. Tina had asked me if there were any Harwich specific tidbits about the Cultural Council. And the one that we have is that Harwich was one of our 6 pilot communities for our Cultural Compact program. And this was a program where we were trying really hard to find 6 marquee communities from throughout every this Commonwealth to kind of help them build their profiles when it came to relationships with their legislative stakeholders in the creative economy. And I believe we had about $30,000 for the program as a whole. So every community receives $5K to build their profile. And I'm not sure where it stands now, because I do believe that once the pandemic hit, that community compact money was pivoted towards relief to the sector for both individual artists and nonprofits. So it's another program where, with our new executive director, Michael, we are evaluating what we do as an agency in this post-COVID world, what programs will stick around and what will be changed. So this one remains to be seen, to be honest. But yeah, moving on to the cultural compact elements. We definitely just wanted every town to recognize their power to make communities more viable and build relationships with their stakeholders. So that kind of covers the communities initiative, and the next few slides are just reasons why we were working to pivot programs to relief. We released 5 COVID-19 impact surveys up to date, and it's all cumulative. So the 5th one, cultural organizations reported about $589 million in lost revenue. Individual artists cited $30 million in lost income. There were about 30,000 cultural jobs impacted statewide. So, since the pandemic hit, the arts and culture sector have been hurting really badly. And our agency really made a conscious effort to figure out which of our programs that we had budget money for that we just weren't able to do, and how we could pivot that money into relief fund, with both as an agency and working with our partners. So I believe the next slide goes into just different examples of how we were able to work with our partners to get that relief out there. We worked with Mass Creative, which is our main advocacy partner and arm. And, as a state agency, we can't, I don't want to use the word lobby, but there's definitely restrictions in our powers to actually advocate for extra funds. So Mass Creative does a lot of the legwork of that for us because they're an independent organization and they're our advocacy partners. So they do a lot of great work with our legislative partners to, pursue funding and advocate on our behalf. And yeah, since the pandemic started, we were able to work with the Baker-Polito administration to launch COVID-19 Cultural Organizations Grant. We've been able to work with organizations like the Berkshire Theater Professionals and the GKV Foundation to send money to Berkshires. We also, because the agency first started as a division of the Massachusetts State Lottery, there's a provision in the law that says that we receive a certain amount of revenue from the Gaming Commission and casinos. And we were able to send $3.34 million of that into the arts and culture sector in order to keep the sector competitive with gaming casinos. So just things like that, where we're able to pivot money and send it out to the field. And, going forward, the field's going to need a lot of help. Going back to our CIP program, who works predominantly with nonprofits, there are a lot of stories about nonprofits who were worried about furloughing workers, keeping their doors open because they were operating on ticket sales and subscriptions, and all that shut down. So there's a lot of work to do to help individual artists stay on their feet, nonprofits stay open. And we're really excited about Michael J. Bobbitt being our new executive director, and his vision is he has a lot of great ideas and a lot of energy to bring. And, we're starting to see that come to fruition. So, lots on the horizon, but that's kind of the gist of it. I don't know if there's any questions.
Thank you, Ricky. Any questions about what Ricky has shared? Yeah, and I think, Ricky, just for anybody that might view this meeting later, the allocation from the state to the local cultural councils is based on what? So
there's an algorithm, and I believe it's based on town size per capita. Okay. So that's how they allocate it. Yeah. I think, places like Worcester and Boston get a large amount because of the size of their their towns, but it's I think the algorithm does a good job of trying to be equitable by town size. Apart from that.
Yep. And then the other thing too, I know the cultural district, and I'm glad you touched on that in there because, we're in a holding pattern, I guess, at the moment with the cultural district designation and working with Luis on that. And so hopefully when the COVID restrictions lift, we'll be able to kind of finish that because we were so close. We were right there, I think, last spring for a walkthrough. We were just right at the end of it. And unfortunately, everything was put on hold. And we're just kind of waiting for a green light to move.
Yeah, we've been waiting too because since March 15th or so, 2020, we haven't been really allowed to be in the office even. And I think right now we might be able to go back in June. And the whole crux of the Communities Initiative and the Local Cultural Council program pivoted towards visiting everyone in person. When I first got hired, I was making my way through the Cape in the winter months. And, it just kind of just came to a screeching halt where we really wanted to, meet everyone, put a face to a name and build those relationships. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, we can get back on the road safely and be allowed to do that. Yeah.
Yep. Dinah, go ahead.
Yes. Is the cultural compact related to the cultural districts, or is that two entirely separate programs?
I think they're two separate programs. Yes.
Okay. So it's a cultural compact that is being reassessed and to determine how much money there would be, if any, for that particular initiative going forward. But the cultural district is already in process. That isn't something that would be pivoting to something else. Is that your understanding?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and that's a good question, Dinah, and a good clarification, because the cultural compact, when we were selected, and one of the reasons, one of the things that we did, and this was with Anita Walker, Ricky, before Michael came on, is we were looking at what Harwich, as a pilot town, what did we need in order to bring the visibility up for arts and culture? And one of the things that we had a conversation about was becoming a cultural district. And the fact that we had two districts, Harwich Center and Harwich Port, that were just kind of primed and ready. And the cultural compact gave us the opportunity to really kind of look into that for Harwich. And so it kind of opened a door to myself, to Cindy Williams, Charlene, the town planner. A lot of us came around the table and had a good conversation, and we all agreed as a town that this was a good next step. And because we were involved in the compact, it gave us access, to the Mass Cultural Council team, and who were very, very helpful, and helping Cindy and myself really kind of put that whole vision together. So yeah, but it is two separate things.
Yep.
Yep. Any other questions? Yay, Ricky, thank you. And I just also want to thank you too, Ricky, because even during COVID, you've done such a great job in offering Zoom meetings for the chairs, and because I've attended a few of those, and in my absence, I know one of our members, Kathy Tian, before this group, attended a couple. So I really appreciate that you had those kind of Zoom chats and kept us all in the loop.
Oh, thank you. I tried my best. Yeah, I know, it's a pandemic. Everyone's living their lives and working, family, healthcare. And this is a volunteer position. We ask a lot of you. So thank you all for doing the work that you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sharon, thank you for doing the slides.
No problem. Anytime. Take me on the road.
All right.
Dinah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to also thank you, Ricky, because I have really appreciated receiving your emails, and it just feels, I don't know, there's a sense of support. It feels like there are things going on and you're thinking about all of it at the same time, and we are all feeling so disconnected in so many ways, but you have really made an effort to connect us, and I very much appreciate it as well. I want to thank you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinah.
Yeah. And I guess the last question I have, Ricky, thinking about a grant reception, with the way it happened last year, we just unfortunately were not able to pull together a grant reception. I mean, I know other communities did various versions, but I wanted to kind of just talk to you a little bit about that, because I think going forward, there is a hope, an intention to have a 2021 grant reception. So I wanted to just kind of put that on the table here with your thoughts. And I hope you will come. I really want it to be in person.
Yeah, so do I. I'd love to come. And I think with the way restrictions are right now, I think maybe there's 50, 60, 70% capacity. So, potentially if you find the right venue and space it out, it could work. Other than going the virtual route, I know other LCCs have asked grantees to kind of compile a short video, send it to them, and then they splice it up into this one long presentation where they showed, this grantee and what they did, and try to do it that way. But, in person would be amazing. Yeah.
And the other thing I'll add, Ricky, is, and I don't know if this is the case with everybody, but I know it is with Harwich. If we did a grant reception, even with 50 to 60% capacity, one of the things I believe, if I'm understanding correctly, is we have to get permission to host it, because it's a public meeting and all of us would be there. And so we're kind of at the mercy, I guess, of the town of Harwich to decide where that 50 or 60% would be allowed. So that's the only tricky part. I think if it were just us, we'd be willing to do an in-person reception somewhere. But I think we do have to get approval from the town of Harwich.
Yeah, I could always, reach out to my senior staff and see if there's any recourse we can take to kind of advocate, because, when Anita was here, she did send a letter early on in March and April to all towns, urging them to be flexible when it came to granting and helping artists out. So we could see what we could do that way.
Okay, thank you for that. Chris, go ahead.
Because we've extended the grant for 2020 to be done in June, and then we were talking about putting both 2020 and 2021 grant recipients together, and having that grant reception both by June. I'm guessing that a lot of people would be vaccinated, and since the age group is opened up, and possibly the our cultural center will be open, and it might be doable, later June, later June, and that would I would think that would be fine. The kids will be out of school and all that kind of stuff. I think it'll be easier.
Yeah, it's, I'm definitely hoping for the best, because as a state agency, we serve at the pleasure of the governor and his reopening guidelines. So it's almost like a conveyor belt ecosystem, where the CDC will inform the administration, the governor will take that and inform us as an agency, and then we move forward and also work in partnership with each municipality. So it's, as long as we all have good working relationships, I think we can cooperate, get these things done.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was interesting, Ricky, because typically we have an annual, I would expect all the towns in the Cape do this, but we have an annual report book. And in the annual report book, as part of our report for the Harwich Cultural Council, we're always listing our grant recipients. But for the first time this year, for 2021, we weren't able to list the grant recipients because of the delay in the grant allocations and awards. So it didn't make it in the book. And so the media release, I don't know if everybody saw it in the Chronicle, but it was printed, I guess, in Wednesday, in this week's the grant award list. I don't know if everybody's seen that. If you haven't, I'll try to get you the link, because we felt like, oh my gosh, we didn't have that opportunity to even announce our grant recipients because of the timing of everything. So we're just looking for ways to recognize 2020 and 2021. Like we have the other years.
Yeah. And please do send it to me too, because we have a community's Facebook page, and I've been posting every article I can find where LCCs, make an announcement of the grantees for the year. So
Okay.
it's that link as well.
Yeah, and I'll try to get that because we have had a Facebook page too, and I'm going to try. It was in the print copy of the Chronicle, but I'm trying to find the one for the online. So as soon as I get that, I'll send that to you, Ricky, and I'll send it to everybody. But it definitely was in the print version this week. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any final questions or comments for Ricky?
No.
All right, seeing none. Ricky, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And you can hang around for a bit because we're right at the end of our meeting. Is there anything else, other items, anything you needed to add before we adjourn?
I neglected to mention in our mailbox, we got a thank you note from the Cultural Center regarding the Rise and Shine program. They were thanking us for the $615 that was granted to them, and they extended information about how they were going to spend it. So
That's wonderful.
I got to meet Lauren and Amy and visit them at the Cultural Center when I went to Cape. Yeah, the great program.
Yeah, they do a lot of good work. Yep. Great. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. Yeah, and that's kind of the downside of not being in person, because we used to be able to bring thank you notes and everybody passed them around and read them. So, yeah. Thank you, Chris. Anything else, anybody? All right. Could I entertain a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Chris is making the motion to adjourn. Could I have a second?
Second.
All right, Bernadette has seconded, and we will go around, and this is for a motion to adjourn, starting with Dinah.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
Aye.
Thank you. Bernadette?
Aye.
Thank you. Sharon?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Tina is an aye. So that is unanimous. We're going to adjourn at 5:24 p.m. Thank you all. And Ricky, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you,
Thank
Ricky.
you.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank
Very
you.
informative.
Everybody.
Have a good
Have a
night.
good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
you.